Hey folks, in a previous video, I had shared how you can use an app script to create a set of users to fill out the data from a form that they are submitting. Let's take a look. I've added a new feature to this to make it a little easier for teachers. Let's take a look at what it does. So what I'm doing is I have a form. I'm collecting data. We had originally talked about how you could create a new sheet for each person and use a query, which we can see here to, I seem to have my formula bar closed, a query to pull the data for each teacher and see what their data is. And we also talked about in another recent video how you could use Data Studio to do that. But a third way to do it, as we had talked about in a previous video, was to collect this data. This is just a simple example, and then from here, what I want to be able to do is take a look at the data that each user has submitted. And so, in this case, what we're doing is using a app script to create a set of sheets, and these sheets are individual sheets that are basically, in this case, this is user A's sheet, so you can see this is teacher A, and it's pulling the data from our collect data, and these are all teacher A's responses, and we're pulling that directly into this user A's sheet automatically. So how do we do this? Well, we basically have in this sheet, we're using an app script, and the app script adds two different menu items to the sheet. The first one, add one user, and in this case, maybe my user is Mary. So I would say okay, and the script runs, and it creates a new sheet for Mary, and I can click on that. I can go to Mary's sheet, and what I've set up here is a hidden column with the link to the collect data response sheet and the range we're looking at and the person named Mary. Now, when we come back here, we'll see that we have a new row for Mary on collect data responses. So we can see that Mary doesn't have any responses yet. So let's go back to our form, and we can see there are no responses for Mary. So let's submit another response. In this case, let's add Mary. And as Mary, because now that we've created her sheet, she's option 1. She's saying thank you, whatever the data might be that you're collecting. We can come back here and see now that we have a row in here for Mary. Okay. And then when we take a look at this row for Mary, let's go back to Mary's sheet. And sure enough, I can go ahead and hide this sheet again. There's my information for Mary. So we've what we want to do now is take a look at my manager sheet. So I can track all of the sheets that I have for all of my users. But let's say and we just demonstrated how you can add one user. But what if I wanted to add bulk users? Well, the way we do that, we're going to add a list for all these students. And right now, I think I maybe only want to do a couple of them to just show you how it works. So I type in my list of students on my list, and then I come back to my user sheet. I come to add users, and this time I add bulk users. And what this is doing is running the script and running through each one of those lists in the rows of that student list and creating a new sheet for student 1, student 2, student 3. When I come back to the students list, notice we've cleared that. So you could create a new set of students using that. And now I can come here to student 1, and as we would expect, student 1 doesn't have any data. But if we come back, student 1 collects some data. I'm going to do other, create a student 1, and option 2 and yes and submit. When we come back and look at our collected data, we can see that we have student 1 and collecting the data. And then we can come back to our manager sheet, and we can see student 1. And let's go ahead and open that one up. And sure enough, there's the information for student 1. You'd be able to share these URLs with your students from here. Go ahead and share the URL that they have so that they can track their submissions to your form. In summary, this is an extension of our previous video where we taught how to add one user, and in this case, our script is adding multiple users. Real quickly, let's just take a look at what the app script looks like. When you make a copy of this sheet, this app script will be included, and you would have to change, well, really nothing to change on this sheet. There's a few things to change according to the directions that you see here. You're going to need to change your folder ID and your user ID and these things that are listed here. The script runs through. Here's the function that creates a single new user, and here's the function that creates your bulk users and takes the list from the students lists, runs through, creates a new sheet, renames it, does all the things that the script does. So hope you enjoy. I think it could be a really useful way for teachers and administrators to modify however you might want to create sheets based on a template, because basically we're just creating a template here. You could make this template look like anything and then run, put in your students' names, run this, and you would have a sheet for every student.